thinking that this isn't really going to be all that much fun. Get some of the big stuff off first. Alright, so what I'm working on right now is I'm working on getting the rear cross member cleaned off. What I do regret is not doing this prior to putting in the floor structure. I just didn't think of it, and I'm really kind of bummed that I didn't think of it, because there's no way I can get underneath these. They're right on top of it without cutting them out, and I'm certainly not going to do that. So I'm going to do the best I can and get it cleaned up. I got the frame rails all nice and clean. The structure for the most part's cleaned off. While I'm under the car, I'm sitting there looking and kind of thinking, what's the best course of action to take? And I really think it's smart of me to remove the rear axle. If I were to remove the rear axle, obviously it's going to slow down the process of me getting the car to the exhaust shop. But I could potentially remove the arms, you know, the linkage arms or the radius rods or trailing arms, whatever you call them. I can remove those, sandblast those in my sandblasting cabinet. The springs are welded to the frame, so those will stay on the frame. But the rear axle assembly, the pan hard bar, I can remove all that and kind of get everything cleaned up and painted outside of the car. The car will be obviously stuck right where it's at, but I was kind of planning on removing the front axle anyways, and to remove the rear axle really isn't that much work, so I'm thinking about doing that. I think really what I need to do next is remove the rear axle assembly. So I'm going to have to go grab my jack the car up, remove the rear axle assembly. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the lower shock bolts. Why that was on there so tight. Shocks over there. So now I gotta undo the pan hard bar. I've never had this off, so sounds like it's turning, and it's boxed in the frame. Holy smoke. It's not good. Oh boy. I suppose I could leave it on the car. Not good. Alright, well I'm just going to have to take it off the rear axle assembly and then figure out. I may end up having to cut this boxing plate off the back of the frame to weld that bolt on the bottom inside of the frame. Always something. Alright, let me grab a big socket. Alright, that's the pan hard bar. Need to put these jack stands in front of the trailing arms, and then one bolt or two bolts. 1, 2. Whoa, that bolt snapped. Wow, I hadn't noticed that. Wow. I gotta remove the U-bolts. I need to remove the U-bolts on that go over the rear axle assembly that hold on the coil springs. I'll show you. And I just noticed something that I would have seen eventually, but I hadn't noticed until now. So I just removed the pan hard bar, but you see this U-bolt here. There's a nut there, and there's no nut on the front. It's gone. It snapped off at some point. Unlike the passenger side, you can see two of them. So what I'm going to do is just get my cut-off wheel, and I'm just going to cut those. I don't need to worry about saving them, I'm just going to replace them. At that point, the rear axle assembly will be separated from the trailing arms. I'll then have to remove the trailing arms, because those are going to be painted a different color than the chassis. They'll be white, which is going to be the complete front and rear suspension. Everything will be white, including the rear axle. in the springs. I'm gonna get my cutoff wheel and get those cut. Hopefully they don't pop too bad. I'm assuming the driver's side won't pop too bad because there's already one of them broken. I'm hoping the passenger side doesn't pop too bad. There was one. Not too bad. A little bit of a pop. Grab my earplugs. It's loud. Making moves! Only way these cars are going to get done is if you get out in the garage and start making moves. You just got to do something. Anything. One thing a day will get a car done faster than just sitting there with no one touching it. I don't want to be under here. I'm sure you don't blame me, because this body's just sitting on these springs now. And not that I think they're going to go anywhere, but I don't want to risk it. And crush my biscuit. What? It rhymes. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Alright, so this one popped out. That's what I wanted to happen. That one. That one. You can do it. Yeah. Uh-huh. You can do it. Let's go. That one. All that work and I wasn't filming. I just got the U-bolts cut off of the rear axle. The driver's side one had already snapped at some point. That was missing. And then the passenger side, I cut front and back. It popped. Now the body's just sitting on the springs on top of the rear axle at this point. So I'm going to run and grab my jack out of the big shop. Jack up the car. I'll move the jack stands up in front of where the 2-link attaches to the front of the to the chassis and the underside of the chassis. I'll put those there and then set the car back down. And then I'll be able to lower the rear axle assembly out from underneath the car. And then I'm going to keep cleaning the back of the car. I wasn't aware this is the way my weekend was going to go. I'm happy to have the time in the garage. I don't know if I'm going to have to put a block under this or not. Whoa, shit. Alright, this is bad. This is bad. Shit. Shit. That got scary real quick, didn't it? Wow, I thought these were welded onto the car. They're not. Well, that changes things. That's cool. Huh. Oh, so they center themselves on these little bump stops, I guess is what they are. That one's still attached to the frame, so maybe I'll have to get new ones. Well, at least on the driver's side, I'm going to have to get one. So the springs I thought were attached, welded to the chassis, they aren't. Must have just been this rubber that looked like weld, I guess. So that's good, I guess. That's one, I think. Yeah. It's as far out as it's going to go, and about as far back as it's going to go. mean, honestly, I could go higher. Go as high as I want, really, within reason. It'll make my life easy. When it comes time to painting, that's perfect. Fits right in that pocket. Alright. So now, I'll let the... Right, are you guys watching? Are you with me? Whoa. Alright, so put the car on the jack stands. So the car's on the jack stands now. What I need to do is I need to lower these rear links. The passenger side kind of moved. The driver's side did not. Let it down now. Someday I'll own a lift. And I'll still probably screw it up. I did it. There we go. I still have to get the panhard bar out, but the rear axle assembly is out, so that's kind of a big deal. Next will be move the front axle, which is pretty easy. So I'm going to move my chain fall in front of the car again. Good. So now, I at least now can access my rear cross member. However, I have no room in here now. I wasn't planning on doing this. I don't know. You really only go backwards. So I guess that's okay. Alright, so now I can finish sanding the rear cross member. Try my Y wheel, see how this works. It wasn't really working that great because it's brass, so it's not strong enough. Alright, so got those U-bolts undone. Just trying to get them off the frame now. These are repop. Not the greatest. I needed something to bind, and I had them. I picked them up somewhere. But I never really planned on running them when the car was finished. So, alright, so pop these off. This axle's probably gonna fall. Alright. So problem is I got the motor right in front of me. The motor's sitting right there. Front axle's there. The rear axle is 3 feet behind the car. I'm here by myself. So I think what I'm going to have to do is probably going to have to go buy, you know what, I got a couple dollies downstairs, down in the big garage. I'll throw this motor on a couple dollies. I'll wheel it off to the side, and then I should have room to pull that front axle out. I'll set that outside for now. Not going to hurt it. Backwards. My great idea is now screwing me up. That's it. There's literally nothing else I can take off of this car. Oh, the center of the transmission cross member. That's it. Everything else is welded to the chassis. Everything else that's on here, everything that's on here is getting painted now. Boy, that's something. Didn't expect to be here this weekend. I wasn't expecting on doing this. I had planned on doing the motor and getting everything ready to send the car out to the exhaust shop, but this truthfully is the way I should have done it. I think I was prematurely thinking about getting the car to the exhaust shop. I was excited, but the way I'm doing it now, this is the right way to do it. This is what I should have been focused on the whole time. Sometimes I guess you just lose sight of certain things. So. But in any event, I'm doing it now and I'm happy about it. So, all right. So I've got jack stands underneath the front frame rails, further back, right at the cowl. The only thing that I do wish I was able to do was to get the pedals set exactly where they needed to be, and in order to do that, I needed to have the motor and clutch and everything installed. That's really the only thing that I need to do. I'm going to weld on the tabs for the brakes right now, for the brake lines. That's really one of the only things that I need to do. I mean, the exhaust guy, he's going to put on his own hangers and all that wherever he needs them when he does what he has to do. And then besides drilling holes and screwing in all the little, like clamps and stuff for the hoses and the wiring, I think the fabrication work for the most part is pretty much done except for that motor mount. So I'm going to weld up that motor mount right now, weld on these two tabs for the brake lines. I'm actually going to cut them down. They're kind of long. So they behind the spring. Yeah, I'm going to cut them down some. I'm going to cut the actual, from the hole up, I want to cut it pretty much in half. I don't want them hanging down like 2 inches. I think it kind of looks hokey. Well, it would help if I plugged it in. Come on now. I should have done them at the same time. Dum-dum! Alright, I have 2. Still have 2 left. I'll cut these at the same time. Then I know they're the same length. You get smarter with age. might as well weld up that motor mount. I want to shorten the length, shorten these bolts, so I'm going to run the nuts down on them, and then cut them, and then clean them up and run the nuts back out to chase the threads on the way back out. So do that next, and I'll mask off these bolts so they don't get covered in. Well, yeah, you know what? I'll just paint them. I don't care if they get paint on them. They'll look old, like it's actually supposed to, even though it's probably doesn't at this point. I don't know. Trying not to make a fake hot rod, even though some of them are pretty cool. Hot. Damn, damn, damn. Hot, hot, hot. Woo! Wasn't paying attention. I cut my glove. I gotta slow down. I'm kind of going with the flow. Feeling pretty good, you know? I gotta slow down some. I'm gonna hurt myself. I don't want to do that. You know what I need to get is one of those things that you run down on the top of the bolt and it like smooths out the end of it. I don't know what it's called, but whatever it's called, I need to get some. Alright, so what I'm doing now is, on the wishbone mounts, I was able to weld 3 sides, the outside, the front, and the back edges, but I was never able to weld on the inside underneath the frame rails. So, I'm going to get the insides of both of these welded up. Yeah, just looking at what else I have. Still finding stuff. Welder turned up. This is pretty thick material. Exactly what I thought happened. I hate it when it does that. Get the bird's nest inside the welder. I had it turned up a little more than I probably should have. So, I'm going to have to pull this apart real quick and then get that welded up. Alright, so I got these 2 mounts welded up. Got the motor mount welded. Got the brake line tabs welded on. So now what I need to do is I need to cut that little access panel on the back of the passenger frame rail, so I have access to the bolt that holds the panhard bar. I'm going to just get my cut off and just kind of try to 3 little lines and see if I can bend up that tab just so I can get a welder in there. Actually, I'll probably put a wrench on it, take it out, clean the bolt first, try to clean inside the frame best I can so I can get a nice good weld on that bolt. I'll have that threaded, the bolt will be coming out and it'll basically just be a stud at that point. So, like me, boom! What I need to do is cut here, here, and here. As I said, so I have access to that bolt. I'm going to grab my shield and I'll get to work. Trying to find the best angle to get to it. I guess this is it. Go. Now I have access to that bolt. Now I don't know. As I said, I don't know if I can get that bolt out or not. Oh boy! Well, I guess I can always retrieve it from the back of the frame rail. I pushed it out instead of pulling it. Whatever. I got it. I'll get this bolt cleaned up with a wire wheel. Alright, let me go grab my little wire wheel thingy-mabobber. Get this cleaned up. Get the wire wheel in there, get that cleaned up. I'll get that, I'll get this tacked in place. What a day! What a day! Getting so much done. Gotta love days like this. Watch yourself, Jesus. That was dumb. My camera died. I had 2 different cameras. I think something happened with one of them, but then the other one, I think just the battery died. So it was an extremely productive day. I got a lot done. Basically stress-free. It was nice. I didn't really necessarily have a list, but I kind of was just able to see what I needed to get done and then just one thing after another. I didn't make any excuses. I didn't, not want to do any of it. I just thought, here I am. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. So I'll take you for a quick walk around and show you guys where I'm at. I just finished sweeping the shop. So take a quick walk. This is the front axle. I rolled it out. I can't open the door because it's raining out. I did for a few minutes to vent out the garage, and you can even just minutes, 5 minutes. Got a little bit of water on there. Instantly flash rusted. So got the front axle out. That I need to send this axle out and have it redropped because the camber is off. The only thing I am going to do is I am going to put a sleeve over that joint on the drag link just to be safe, which I have right here. Motor and transmission are bolted together, so when the time comes, it's ready to go back in. I should have the other parts that I need. Just be able to put those on real quick, slide that clutch fork in, which is sitting right here, just sitting there. That's ready to go back in when the time comes. I'm going to put that on a dolly so I can move it over to the side so I can roll the rear axle out and get that cleaned up outside. I am going to get that painted. But you can see here, this is what I have done. I shortened these bolts, finish welded the motor mounts, welded in this plate. I welded down here, finished off underneath the bottom of the frame where I bumped it out. Welded the wishbone mounts. I got the brake, the master cylinder, and pedal mount completely 100% welded. All the floor structures welded. I got inside the frame rails all cleaned up. It's kind of hard to tell because there's no light in there right now. But I took the SCT and a couple other hand tools. You can kind of see that a little better. Got that all done. I got all the ends of the tubes capped off and welded and cleaned up. All the welds are finished off real quick just with a flap disc. The only thing I need to do, or one of the things I need to do, is pull this mount off. This bolt's just sitting there. Pull this mount off so I can get everything painted, all the surfaces painted. I don't want to leave bare metal underneath where that mount mounts. Obviously, I removed the rear axle. I just cut the U-bolts, as you saw, dropped everything out. I got the tool link, or the trailing arms off. I got this rear cross member cleaned up best I could with the SCT and a wire wheel and a few other little things. There was a bolt here coming through the frame that was spinning inside the frame. This was for the panhard bar. I cut a piece out, cleaned everything up inside, welded that bolt in, so now it's just a stud, so I don't have to worry about it spinning in the frame. And then I welded that back up. Yeah, just a lot of cleaning, a lot of sanding and grinding and cleaning up. So I still have some cleaning to do, but for the most part, the majority of it's done. I can't roll the car outside, and as you can see, it's a little dusty. So you can see the car is pretty dirty, like everything else in the garage. So tomorrow after work, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just open the door in the garage, put a couple fans in here, get my backpack blower that I use to clean leaves in the yard, and I'm going to just blow everything out of this garage and let the dust settle. Check everything, see where I'm at as far as cleaning goes, you know, as far as the rust goes. And then start covering stuff up with plastic. You know, cover everything in the garage with plastic. Tuck everything in the back where I'm standing now. Under this mezzanine, I usually throw some plastic up there and drape it down to the floor, so I kind of pack that full whenever I'm doing any painting. Run plastic down the walls of the shop to cover everything. I'm going to be mainly spraying inside the car and underneath the car, so I don't think there's going to be that much overspray. So, but that being said, everything's done. All the welding's done. Got these tabs welded on the front of the frame. I got one on the rear. Yeah, so besides the firewall, which I really can't do until I'm done with my pedals, and I can paint that after the fact. That's easy enough. I think everything else for the most part is pretty good. So I think probably another few days, realistically another couple of days. Got a busy work week, so I'm thinking if I could get the car in sealer and paint by the end of the week, worst case scenario. I'm not going to be around this weekend, so as soon as I get it in sealer, I got to wait 30 minutes for that sealer to cure or flash, and then I can spray paint right over it. I don't know how crazy I'm going to go on the frame. You know, there's some marks here and there from when it was, it's been worked on all these years. I think I'm just going to leave it because I am going to do the same paint treatment on the frame as I did on the body. So if it has a little bit of imperfections here and there, it should be fine. It doesn't have to, I'm not going to make it perfect. It's not a show car. So, yeah, I think I'm a few days away, realistically, to having everything in sealer and then paint. So, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's been a long journey. This is another milestone. I didn't necessarily plan on blowing the car apart today, but I'm happy I did. I had the day to myself, which is kind of a rarity. So it was just nice to be able to stay in the garage and focus on what needed to get done and just get it done. So pretty happy, really, really happy. So thanks everyone, appreciate it. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.